Good evening. Welcome to Oconee County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, April the 25th, 2023. If you're joining us virtually to comment during the public comment portions of the meeting, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. After a moment of silence, we're going to ask Amory Harden to lead us in the pledge. Please stand. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, first item of business will be to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
We have motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is statements and remarks from citizens. This is anything not on the agenda for tonight. Anyone virtually? Thank you. Any statements or remarks from commissioners? Very good. We do have some citizen appointments available. One is for we have 3 appointments to begin July 1st, 2023 through June 30, 2025 for the Oconee County Animal Service Advisory Board. 5 appointments for the Keep Oconee County Beautiful Commission, and 1 appointment for the Family and Children's Services Board. Also, Tourism and Visitor Bureau, we have 4 appointments available for that. Deadline for applications will be May the 12th at noon. Our first item here is the public hearing on draft update to the comprehensive plan. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As you're aware, we've been working through our update to our 2018 comprehensive plan. And this evening we have Lee Walton with WSP, our consultant on this update, to present our second public hearing for the update. After that, we will then forward our draft document to the Regional Commission and DCA for review with our adoption in June. So with that, I'll give it to Lee for his presentation. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to join your meeting tonight and to have this time to conduct a public hearing for the comprehensive plan update. I will go through some brief comments. I won't quite skip over them as fast as I did that time right there, but I'll briefly go through a high-level overview as a reminder of what this is all about, where we are in the process, some details about it, and then once completed, we should open for a public hearing, receive any public comments, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So again, the purpose of this is effectively a continuation of the public open house that we held at the end of March, where we had both an in-person and a virtual public open house presentation of the draft plan, and that's actually still available online for anyone who wants to review it. This public hearing meets a requirement of the minimum standards of the Georgia Department of Community Affairs for comprehensive planning. We had an initial public hearing at the start of the process back in July, and so the second public hearing effectively notifies the public of the completion of the process and that we're moving into the review and adoption stage. So we'll provide opportunity for comment. And then we will, after this meeting overall, review all comments, make any final revisions to the draft plan, and then submit it to the regional review and DCA for review. And then once we receive comments and approval from them, we'll be clear to move towards adoption. This is the timeline It's a 9-month process to this point that we've worked through. As I mentioned, starting back actually in June, so a bit more than 9 months process when we put out a survey that we got 1,400 responses or more to. So above and beyond the plan and how that input fed into the plan, there's a database there of targeted public input that I would say is useful for a variety of purposes, and would encourage you to revisit those survey responses from last year. You can see the rest of the process that we've moved through to get to the point today of public hearing. And then moving forwards, as I mentioned, we'll be transmitting the plan for DCA and Regional Commission review. And then we'll be coming back in the latter part of June for the adoption process. I do want to point out, it says that their focus groups were held September and through August 2022. And I want to express appreciation for everyone who was invited and participated in one of several focus groups that we had that were both topical and geographic, including strong representation from City of Watkinsville. So as I mentioned, at the end of March on the 29th, we held an open house. This was fairly well attended. We had 20 plus, 30 maybe people show up and spend time looking in detail at the recommendations of the map. We received a few comments in person. We've got 26 comments total. 5 of those were in person, and then 21 came in as online comments, either through the virtual open house, you've seen an image of it there, or just through emails or otherwise. But yeah, we appreciate it again, the participation and input. As a recap of the process overall, these are sort of the framing questions that we asked and that we communicated to the public, focus groups, et cetera, as we went through the process. So the first part, in addition to the survey and gathering some new and unique data from survey responses, we looked at census data and we looked at various other reports and projections and organized data into the appendices that are a part of the draft plan document, and had these discussions about where are we, what's our current status, and what's our trajectory as we see statistically and as we hear from citizens responding to surveys. So then we moved into the public participation phase, talking about and asking the question, where do we want to go? What are our goals and objectives, or what leads towards those? Focus groups, a public workshop that was held last December, other input, and all of that coalesced into revised goals and objectives, a revised map that's put together in the form of character areas, and a revised implementation program, community work program, which both reports on what was accomplished with regards to the plan 5 years ago when it was adopted, and sets the course for the next 5 years. This is how the document's organized. Simple, straightforward chapters, consistent with the state's minimum requirements and consistent with the format and nature of your prior plans. 2 key aspects of it. I'm not going to go back into the data here at this point. We're able to pull up the entire document. So if we want to go to any particular page or section and look at verbiage, we can here. But I thought I would focus just briefly on 2 key aspects of the plan that get implemented in specific ways. The first is the future development map and the character area policy, which is chapter 5 concerning land use. This comes into play with regards to your month-to-month process of zoning, working with Planning Commission, staff review, which we're actually involved in supporting Guy and his team. We're frequently referring to the future development map and the text that supports it as we interpret whether a request, zoning request or otherwise, is consistent with or compatible with the comprehensive plan, which had public input and so forth. So we've got a future development map It's here, it's on the next slide. And that we have descriptions and fairly strong detail for each character area. However, this is not, and it has not been for several iterations, a very, land use specific map, or future land use map. This provides some flexibility within each character area for creative land use, for innovation, for change. It gives the staff flexibility, planning commission and you flexibility when it comes to making decisions. It's got a 20-year outlook as a land use and future development map. But we know that 5 years from now, we'll be updating it again. So we keep it current as a living document by updating every 5 years. This is what it looks like. Overall, it's a revision to what you've been working with for the past 5 years. And then some of the key updates or key areas of update are highlighted there. We've expanded the agricultural preservation and rural places districts, which is essentially the south half of the county. We've revised land use or development objectives and concepts on key corridors, 441 Mars Hill, generally by decreasing the recommended intensity of land use and development adjacent to existing residential uses. A strong theme throughout this plan is protecting the integrity of existing neighborhoods. It says we removed the technology gateway. Really what we did was we modified the 316 corridor in the area of Bogart to shift more towards traditional industry and less the notion of a technology corridor as had been, previously promoted by the state and as had not really materialized over the past 5 to 10 years. So this is supportive of the nature of business and development and commerce that is continuing to take place. We're observing, continued active commercial development in the county that supports that. And then finally, we've added a public and institutional category in the county to clarify on the map the locations of schools and other major, public utility and infrastructure sites, because those have so much to do with the character of communities. I'll be glad to come back to this. Also have a slide that we can reference if you would like that shows the existing map, and we can do comparison. The other key aspect of the plan that feeds directly into what you do is the community work program. And this is intended to inform your annual budgeting process. It takes a 5-year outlook, looks at major recommendations for investment of resources and projects to accomplish. Does not by any means intend to replace or go to the level of detail of your budget, but it's intended to be referenced when you start your budgeting process every year. And a key factor of this is that it's important for anything that you are likely to seek state grant funding for, important to have that recognized in the community work program. This can be updated as often as you would like. I scan the whole comprehensive plan. A lot of communities, for different reasons, update their community work program every year if they see a need to, particularly if they charge impact fees. That's a requirement, but some do anyway. But so we've got specific actions for the county and each of the cities, the joint plan, specific actions that are tied to the goals and objectives that are documented in the plan. We got direct input from each jurisdiction, county management, yourselves, cities, both to report what was accomplished from the previous plan list and to document what's planned for the next 5 years. And the recommendations in here vary from recommendations to establish new ordinances to achieve certain things, to conduct supplemental plans or studies to zoom in on some areas, to plan at a more specific level, coordinate transportation plans, land use and development plans, and so forth. Other types of programs and different types of community improvements and investments that should be made. So again, purpose, and you can see an example of what it looks like there. Full information is available if you'd like to pull it up and see the full list here or answer any questions. But this is, you know, now might be a perfect time to reference this as you're, I suppose, working on your budget for, or finalizing your budget for the upcoming year. Next steps. After public hearing, we'll effectively close the comment period and make sure we've received all the comments. Then we'll go into the review stage where we'll submit the draft plan to Regional Commission and DCA for review. They go through their process. It's essentially as communicated to us, a consistency check to make sure that the draft plan is consistent with minimum standards. But you have complete authority over how you plan your land use. They don't typically at the state level make different recommendations on land use. They will inform us when their review is complete. We will, during that time, be able to make any revisions to the draft plan if appropriate. Then we'll consider it final and ask you to adopt it by a formal resolution at a meeting in late June. That's the end of the presentation. At your pleasure, I can answer any specific questions you would like to pose.
Anybody have any questions at this time?
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this? No one virtually? All right. With that, we'll go ahead and close the public comments. Anything else to add, guys? Very good. So our next item is discuss the State Route 53 at Snows Mill, Rocky Branch Road right-of-way contract. That'll be Jody.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This item of business is the right-of-way contract for the State Route 53 at Snows Mill Road, Rocky Branch Road roundabout. It's very similar to the item that you approved at the last meeting concerning the roundabout at Ray's Church and Malcolm Bridge. That it formalizes the agreement that we had with the in lieu letter, and it just sets it up to where we are purchasing the right of way and acquiring the right of way, and we will cover the administrative costs and the real property costs for this project as we agreed to do with Georgia DOT at the beginning of the project. And so the recommendation would be from Public Works to approve the non-reimbursable contract for acquisition of right of way for the State Route 53 at Snows Mill Road, Rocky Branch Road project.
Any questions of Jody on that? We're right for consent. Do we have any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. Next time, discuss the award of the bid for the State Route 53 at Union Church Road signal installation and also the Oconee connector signal head replacement bid. Now I misspoke at our last town hall. I said we had the contractor teed up and ready to go. It was actually the bid was teed up and ready to go. So I messed that up. So just full disclosure there. So that's why we're talking about it. Go ahead, Jody.
This item of business is a bid award for the signal head replacement that was approved as part of the FY23 budget along the Oconee connector corridor and also the State Route 53 at Union Church Road signal installation project. We bid those together. And then Georgia DOT on the 53 Union Church project is providing the equipment and we're doing the installation. It's a good project where we're able to come together and share some of the cost and share some of the burden and get a good signal in there that will help traffic. And so Georgia DOT does anticipate delivery of the signal materials at the end of May, late May 2023. That's the latest information that I have from the district. And I check with them fairly regularly. And if that changes, we'll definitely update the board and let you know what the anticipated date is. But given that, Public Works recommends awarding the State Route 53 Union Church Road signal installation and the Oconee connector signal head replacement project bid to Wright Brown Electric, authorizing the chairman to sign any necessary documents and approve future budget amendments up to the contract amount for the life of the project.
Any questions of Jody on that one?
Got a couple, let me just make sure I understand a couple of things. So the amount that you have in your summary is 240,835,
Yes, sir.
825,
Yes, sir.
okay. All right, and help me a little bit on acronyms, what is FYA? I'm sure it's some,
It's the flashing yellow arrows.
okay, I figured it was something simple.
That, yes, sir, that alternate is looking at the signal there at Parkway Boulevard and Oconee Connector. And also Plaza Parkway and Oconee Connector, and we did a little traffic study to see if it warranted taking down the protected only left turns and installing the flashing yellow arrows that can be operated as protected or permissive. So very much like the 5-stack heads where you can go on.
So task 2, the signal head replacement is. Specifically, what is that?
That is replacement of signal heads along Oconee Connector. And the ones we have out there are, I don't know how old they are, but they need replacement, and the actual brand are ones that Georgia DOT had taken off of their qualified product list at some point, and they've had issues with some of them failing, and so it's just replacing those as part of routine maintenance. Okay.
We're hoping to get on a phase replacement for all our signal heads on the life cycle management.
So on the flashing yellow arrows and left turns, you talk about coming off the Oconee connector onto those two that ultimately end up at Costco driveway, the front and the back end.
That's correct.
I support that. It's probably a good thing to do that. Had an experience where somebody was turning left to go into the parkway off of Oconee Connect, and they were in the lane with green light, and they took that as being that they could turn left.
Yeah.
They didn't want to get in the lane with the red light because they had to stop. They stayed
Right.
in the middle lane where they had the green light and turned left. And it was like, okay,
Yeah. And that alternate did include studying the side approaches of Plaza or Parkway Boulevard, and then coming out of the other side of Epps Bridge Center and looking at installing a left turn phase on those as well. Just on Parkway Boulevard.
is that at the,
That would be the main entrance for Costco and Hobby Lobby.
they're gonna study or they're gonna?
They did the study and it recommended doing the left turns. So there's a little bit of operational improvements that would be needed, converting the concrete island into a left turn, and then making the through left that's out there now a through lane, and then using the other lane as the right turn only. And then on the other side, it'd just be a little bit of striping to have a left turn lane, and then a through and a right lane combined.
That's going to warm the Hobby Lobby side.
That's correct.
Okay. But I noted that, I noticed that as well, because a lot of traffic's not coming from Cole,
Right.
and a lot of people just sitting there.
That's correct.
So I think that would help probably the traffic, flow of traffic.
Yeah, I think those improvements, we've had calls come in asking about them. And then, so as part of the engineering study that we did, it did recommend those improvements, and that would be included in this project as well.
Get them there to Costco fast. Thank you.
Any other questions? Be all right for consent? Thank you. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. Our next item is the FY24 concession services contract. Lisa?
Good evening. This is my annual come in front of you all for concession services. Oconee County Little League and Oconee Football Club have stated their interest in continuing providing services to us in the same manner. So the agreement that you have before you has not changed other than the dates for the upcoming FY24 year. So our recommendation is to continue working with them.
Any questions? We are for consent. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. Next item is discuss the memorandum of understanding with Oconee Parks Foundation.
Yeah, so the Oconee Parks Foundation, as you all know, has been ongoing since about 2018, but they more recently have became a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. So this memorandum of agreement just kind of establishes some guidelines between the county and the foundation. Both Justin and Daniel Haygood have reviewed this MOU. The main purpose of the foundation is to help secure some fiscal funds and raise funds to support our department's mission with programs and park facilities. So this MOU basically outlines our kind of relationship with them and how that works, and to ensure that anything that they're interested in doing meets our mission and our goals of our department in the county. So our recommendation is to approve this so we can kind of establish those guidelines as they start to raise funds and move forward.
Any questions? All right for consent? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
To the point, is there any responsibility on their part to make financial reports, or are they required to be audited, or the foundation?
I'm not aware.
As a nonprofit, they have certain regulations that they have to follow to maintain that status. And I think in here, it basically states, and without pulling it up word for word, that we have the right to request those financial, statements if needed.
I'm just making sure that the funds are being used as they were intended.
Mhm.
So if there's any checks and balances, so that's all I'm questioning. To make sure that's in place.
Well, they have their own governing board.
Mhm.
So other than we could definitely start requesting the copies. We do that for a lot of the agencies that we support. So we won't actually be supporting this one. They'll be supporting us. That's the
Okay.
good part about it. Any other questions? You all right for consent? Very good. Any public comments? Anyone virtually? Now, do we need to discuss our joint use agreement with the Board of Education?
So the current joint use agreement with the Oconee school system, it was a 3-year agreement. It does expire on June 30th of this year. The Board of Education has provided an updated agreement that would also span the next 3 years. That has gone up in terms of percentage of their school facility fees that we would pay for each fiscal year, with FY24 being at 75% of their rate, FY25, 90% of their rate, and then come FY26, we would be paying 100% of that school rate. Currently, that school rate has not changed from the previous agreement, but each year our percentage of what we would pay for use of those school facilities would increase. That is the primary changes in that joint use agreement. Again, this is a 3-year agreement. We did pay in FY22, and we are on track in FY23 to pay approximately $30,000 to the school system for use of their facilities. Anticipate that will go up next year with the increased percentage, as well as the opening of Dove Creek Middle School and the potential to utilize that gym as well as the football field. But in order to provide the programs at the current participation rates that we have, we need we need all those facilities to do so. So our recommendation is to continue the joint use agreement with school system.
Very good. Any questions?
I got some, I'm not gonna let this be better. But all I'm asking you right now is take it off of the consent. Then I'd like to say some things. But I'd rather do it at the formal meeting when it's voted. I'm not saying that I won't support it, because we don't have a choice. I'll make this brief comment. I grew up in Glenn County, and population down there is probably close to 90,000. And the school board doesn't charge the county. Got a lot more kids. And they seem to have a pretty good relationship, so, you know, but I'll reserve the rest of my comments for the main meeting, but this one just eats at me, to be quite honest with you.
Very good. No problem
I
there.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Please, I had mentioned something that I didn't pick up in the joint use agreement about Dove Creek.
Mhm.
Those facilities be online later this year.
Mhm. Scheduled to be open this fall.
Okay,
Mhm.
now you caught my attention when you said we're already planning to use their facility.
Well, we are planning to request to use that facility.
So we got to have that much more.
We do. We've been shoving 3 teams on one platform, 3 tackle football teams on one platform, which has been, we've received some negative feedback on that, from our coaches on that. So we're hoping, and also just, we increased our tackle football numbers pretty significantly in the last couple of years. And so in order to even grow one more team, we would need another facility to do that.
So we charge that we would charge the children to use to
Mhm.
participate in the program. The net effect, it will not cost the taxpayers.
Correct. It is all part of the participation fee.
So it's,
So there is a separate, this is what the parent pays to participate in our program. And then there's an additional fee. It's a school use fee that covers the cost of that school facility fee.
all right, so the budget we'll be considering later this year. Will there be, I mean, I guess my question is a net effect.
It's a net effect of the revenue that comes in for that school use fee and then what goes out of rental of buildings, land and buildings for the school use.
Net effect is 0 as far
Correct.
as property taxes and all that.
Correct.
So it's a
Mhm.
user fee.
It's a user fee
And that's in
completely.
the budget, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Let me, well, I won't get into your comments, but if they reserve the right for us not to use their facility,
Correct.
what would be our option? If they started shutting down some location?
Some of our options, hopefully we have enough notice that it would be to limit our number of teams, number of participants and sports, basketball and tackle football being the primary sports that are utilizing the school facilities. So our gyms and the football fields, that would probably be the biggest impact that we would have, is having to turn kids away from programs.
Correct me if I'm wrong, most of the kids that are in your program attend Oconee County School. Stuff like that.
Yes, and in tackle football, they have to be an Oconee County resident attending a Oconee County school because we play in a regional league and it is required. Basketball, we do have some out of county, but our primary participants, without even looking at the numbers, I would say a minimum of 95% or more in our programs, and the other programs are Oconee County residents. And our residents do get priority registration. That first week of registration is only Oconee County residents. But yes, they are.
And there's additional charge for out of county.
There is, it is double what our residents pay to participate in one of our programs if they do not live in the county.
Correct me again if I'm wrong, we're busting at the seams with soccer on
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
basketball.
And yes, sir. Mhm.
Let me, one last one. We have any coaches that would be paid by the Board of Education ever setting foot on our jurisdiction while kids are playing or watching?
So in terms of like, make sure I've got your question correct, school teams being on park facilities or just a,
It could be that, or it could be, any kind of team where those athletes are moving up the line that would be playing
Mhm.
four-way school. Do we ever have their coaches coming out?
technically, they're not, if it's not in season, they're not supposed to be out. I couldn't say 100% sure if there's ever been a coach out there or not, but they're not permitted to per Georgia High School Association.
Okay.
Mhm.
But the middle school.
other than the ones that are actually playing in season, like the middle school softball teams that play at the park facilities. We do not, as was stated previously, when this joint use agreement started 3 years ago, we no longer have any of the school coaches providing any of the summer week sports camps anymore. We actually run all those internally. None of those are instructed by school coaches anymore. They do their own thing on their school facilities.
Would the girls with the softball program, the middle school, but most of those girls, are they gonna be in the high school program?
I would say
So
most,
it would be a benefit to the school programs by being able to use our fields at no charge.
Mhm.
Okay.
well, and if I'm not mistaken, Malcolm Bridge Middle School does not have a softball field, so that would be
They pretty
Yeah.
much gotta come.
right. They used to be at Bogart Sports Complex and now they're at OVP with Oconee Middle School.
Point I'm making, pretty clear is that they're moving up the line.
Mhm. Yeah, I would,
Being in
I'd say the
parks.
majority of them, if they are intending to play at high school and they're staying in Oconee County, they have played in our rec program at some point in time prior to playing for the high school teams here in Oconee.
But you're saying the softball is playing on our fields
Correct,
free,
correct,
no charge.
correct.
Because we're the adults in the room. That's what it is. Well, that's true. I could get on roll on this. You say we're not charging, but in the agreement, it's under fees. Hey, is that just an option that we have?
Yeah, we put a supplemental in there that says no charge.
Mhm.
Last agreement, we just typed up something, said, we're not charging the school system, and that's just like an appendix where you put your charges in, and ours are zero.
Mhm.
But 3A said, good,
Yeah, we could,
at the cost determined.
right,
Yeah, so we determined zero. I understand.
that's correct, yes, sir.
But it's in the agreement that we, at some point
Absolutely.
could charge.
That's correct.
So we're not tying our hands to a future year.
No, I mean, if everybody changed their mind up here and decided you want to charge $30,000 for the two softball fields.
We'll
But,
make sure
yeah.
that it's in the agreement,
Absolutely.
but we're
Yeah.
not charged.
what we said from the first draft of this agreement that we wanted it in there zero, and the Board of Education came up with the wording there. So they created that appendix. Therefore, we had to create a document saying our charge is zero. So for the next 3 years, that'll be what that, if we adopt it next week, then our charge for that 3-year period is zero. Yes, sir.
So the fees, I understand about the percentage escalating, but the fees, are they fixed for the 3 years?
They should be, yes, that fee is attached, and I believe it was part of the agreement I sent you, the school facility fees.
Right.
Those should not change for the next 3 years as presented,
And the hour,
and they didn't change from
Hourly
the previous
stays,
3 years. Mhm.
okay. So all of the fees would stay the same, except for the escalation.
Just the percentage. Mhm.
One last thing. The bottom line is the taxpayers have already paid for all this stuff. They're the ones that actually own both sides.
Just so I'm clear on section 8 supervision, all activities will be supervised by the personnel of the sponsoring group. So this supervision fee is never gonna happen. We're not ever gonna pay a supervision fee because we're gonna be allowed.
Correct.
our
We,
people to
we
be
do
able to
not pay the
supervise.
supervision fee. We do, depending on the program, like tackle football stadium, we do pay a custodial fee, a scoreboard fee. If we have to use lights, we pay a lights fee. Basketball gyms, we pay a scoreboard fee for the ones that have scoreboards. So, but typically, like, we've only been paying the custodial fee at the stadiums. But they have the right to charge us for those too.
Based on this agreement.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Very good. think of any till up to next week, we'll just have this on regular agenda for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time is discuss the Georgia Transmission Corporation encroachment agreement for Fuller Drive.
Good evening, Commissioners. I won't take up too much of your time here. We're currently acquiring easements for the transmission line going down Fuller Road. It's adjacent to Fuller Road, and a portion of that easement actually it's going to lie within the actual power line easement itself. Yeah, I'm sure y'all seen that big transmission line goes right beside Fuller Road. So for us to be able to do any kind of construction within the power line easement, we will have to have an agreement with the power corporation. So that's really what this is. The cost for doing this is $600. So this is essentially an encroachment permit to get in there and do some construction whenever time comes.
Any questions on this item? You all right for consent? Yep. Thank you. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Next item is discuss alcohol license for the Crab Hut.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The Crab Hut, which has currently been in business for a while here in the county, has applied for an application for retail consumption of premises of beer, wine, and distilled spirits on premises. They're located at 1011 Park Drive in Watkinsville. The registered agent, Mr. No, has completed the training. Their application is complete, so we request approval of that alcohol license.
Any questions on this one? You all right for consent?
Yes.
Very good. Any public comment? Anyone virtually?
Okay, next one, we have one more. The Flying Biscuit Cafe is proposed opening in May at 1850 Epps Bridge Road, Suite 1. They have applied for retail consumption of beer and wine on premises. The registered agent, Mr. Patel, has completed his RAS training. The request is complete, other than the issuance of a business license by Oconee County. They're waiting on the final things for that, and we request approval pending that business license being issued.
And biscuit and beer coming up. Any questions on this one? All right, be all right for consent agenda. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. Next time is discuss the right of way abandonment for Old Jennings Mill Road, Jennings Mill Extension, and Research Parkway.
Y'all are familiar with this because we've talked about it 2 or 3 times, including at the rezone last month. The request is that the board declare that Jennings Mill Road Extension and Old Jennings Mill Road, as currently configured, that it would be in the public interest to abandon those right of ways as shown on the plat that you've all got in front of you. There's kind of a little dance we have to do because we need to abandon the right of ways and they need to rebuild the new roads, including Research Parkway. But we don't need the abandonment to be effective until they actually have gotten all this done. So that we don't give away roads that then don't get rebuilt. So there's an exchange agreement that would also be approved that you've got in your package. But that doesn't need to be done until May 2nd. I just thought it'd be a good idea to go ahead and get that to you. So the action would be to declare that the sections of the road shown on the plat no longer serve public interest, and to authorize Holly to proceed with running ads, notifying adjoining owners, and all the other things that are outlined in the memo that's also attached.
Any questions on this item? Be all right for consent? Good. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. We do not have need of an executive session, so Commissioner Saxon,
Motion adjourned.
we are adjourned.